fill our requests. But once we have them in our inventory, we can just right-click on the texture vault itself and just drop these guys in there. Now we've added textures to our canisters. We've given our canisters names that are meaningful to us, and we've put them inside the vault itself. We can go ahead and bring up our load menu and load up some canisters. We load a canister by clicking on any one of the open platforms that are available to us. We can actually preload up to 10 canisters at any given time, though the texture vault itself will hold nearly an unlimited number of different canisters within itself. We'll go ahead and click on the first one, and we notice we have our different canisters. However, we also notice that the canisters aren't necessarily in the order that we found there in the Linden Lab folder. Well, let's go ahead and take care of that. The way we do that is through grouping. Grouping is something that we're all pretty much familiar with. When we make a folder in Windows or whatever operating system you're using, that's a group. And you can have different folders within that, and you can even have different folders within that. So what we'll want to do is we'll want to go ahead and rename our waterfall, since we want it to be the folder, the first branch of the folder. We can't have the texture canisters having the same name as the folder we want to have and then have things within it. It doesn't work in Windows, and it surely won't work here. So let's go ahead and rename waterfall to waterfall textures. Once we do that, we want to go ahead and rename our particle systems. Now, if you remember from the menu, the particle systems, all the names didn't show up. This is because even though Linden Labs lets us have many characters in our buttons, it only shows a very small number of them. So what we'll do is, just to make it a little bit easier for us to see, we'll shorten the name somewhat. So it'll be Waterfall PS1 for our Waterfall Particle System 1, and we'll go ahead and rename this one to Waterfall PS2. Now that we have them renamed, we can go ahead and click back on our platform and take a look at the order now. Now this is looking a lot more like the system, the order that we saw in the Linden Labs directory. We have our wood, we have our waterfall. Go ahead and click on waterfall, and now we have our textures, our particle system 1 and our particle system 2. Let's go ahead and load up some of these guys. First, let's click on textures, get that guy loaded. We'll load up particle system 1, and we can load up particle system 2. Now that we have them preloaded into the vault, we can now actually load them onto the vault. So I'll click on the platform I want to load up and just click the load button from the menu that I'm presented with. And as you can see, we have our lovely Linden Labs waterfall textures. If we want to bring up the particle system ones, we can easily do that. That's the first one, and we'll load up the second one. Now you'll notice, if you look at these particular canisters here, none of them have their full path names on it, and it could be very easy to confuse which ones you actually have loaded. If at any point you want to remember what particular canister you have loaded, just simply click on it, and its name will be presented for you. And when you're done looking at it, just click on it again, and they'll go away. Now we've pretty much gone over how to add textures from your inventory into the texture vault itself through using the different canisters, how to set up canisters in particular groups, and how to organize those groups to your particular needs. But what if you already have pre-box textures and you want to use them too? Well, that's easily done with the Level 3 Texture Vault. First thing we're going to do is actually get ourselves some textures within a box. And the easiest way to do that is just to run over here to Xstreet and do a quick search for free textures. We'll give it a second to load up, and here we are. And we'll just at random choose one of these free texture boxes. I think I've already used this one before, so I'll just go ahead and use it again. It's free, and there's quite a number of different textures in there. So we'll go ahead and click Buy Now. All right. Now we just go back to Second Life and wait for it to be delivered. And there we go. It's Red Citizen World. And there we have it. We have a pre-boxed set of textures that come to us from some outside source. But we want to make these Texture Vault compatible. What we'll want to do is just once again res our texture canister and world, right click on it and go to Edit, and pull out our texture canister script and put that in our inventory. Then just take the texture canister script and drop it on top of our box. You'll notice that it instantaneously reshapes it to the familiar texture canister shape, and even though the name is kind of is not the same as the texture canister that we're used to, once we give it a name that's more applicable and more meaningful to us, we'll get that changed. So first thing we want to do is come over here to our General tab, make sure none of these options are checked, kind of get a feel for how the original packager put the names. As we can see here, this is a Subdimension Studio free textures box. So we may, when we go actually to organize this texture in, we may want to keep that in mind. So let's go ahead and give it a new name. First thing we'll do is click Rename. When we click Rename, we'll get our familiar screen here, and we'll go ahead and use the grouping options right off this time. So we'll type in Freebie, because that's what it is. We got Subdimension Studios, and we'll just call it Free Pack. Makes sense. Looks like I took a little bit too long to name it there. So that's easily corrected by clicking on it again, going back to Rename, and then just holding down Control, hitting the up arrow, and then hitting Enter. And as we can see, we've now renamed this particular texture pack. Now we want to add it to our Vault's inventory. We just right-click on it and take it. Right-click on the Texture Vault itself, go to Content, and drop it in. And as you can see, now it exists here. Let's go take a look and see if we can't find it in our menu. Come over here, click on Main Menu to take us back to the beginning, and there we are. We have our Freebie folder, we have our SDS folder we set up in the grouping options, and then we have our Free Pack. We'll go ahead and click Free Pack. Now that we have it preloaded, we click on our platform one more time, and click Load, and there we have it. Without having looked at the textures themselves, without having made any modifications to what we were given, we simply just dropped in the level 3 texture canister script, and on its own it set up everything for us and made it usable for our texture vault. This should make purchasing textures that come pre-boxed much easier to add to your system, and it allows us to put those pre-boxed textures in a very convenient order for us to quickly reference and get back to. With that, that concludes this particular video tutorial on the use of the Level 3 Texture Vault and the texture canisters. I hope it's been useful and informative. If you have any questions about this particular video tutorial or any comments on the Texture Vault itself, please don't hesitate to give me a shout out in Second Life. Again, this is Bryn Gervasi, and I hope you have a wonderful day.